Ray asked how come I didn't want to do this next video the next couple of days, and I said, well, because I already have my makeup on and my contacts in, and he's like, well, I have another idea. So anyway.
Goodbye.
No, stop. Anyway, so we just wanted to really quickly talk about, when we say quickly, then it turns into a 30-minute video, but we did want to talk about what the different scenarios are that could happen next. Look at you. Is that pain medicine kicking in?
Yeah.
Yeah, he took a Norco, so yeah, he's been a trooper with the pain medicine. He had a little bit of an asshole attack yesterday because of the narcotics, but yeah.
That's one of my
like,
yeah.
Boy, apple doesn't fall apart. You know, I can see that.
That's not a side effect. That's a bottom effect.
I can see that. You know,
yeah.
Ray
Bottom
also,
attack.
you know, he suffers from explosive anger disorder, and you can see some of the things in the genetics that Jamin had carried down, but because of the autism, he can't control it.
Well, it's very difficult to control it even in light of everything that I know and where the world is headed. But you know, we're inundated with oppression and evil, and I'm not just, I don't know, my wife will tell you, I don't sit around here crying about it, you know, but it's just, you know, that's the reality that we have to deal with. But and we have to talk about that elephant in the room sometimes, not
and like we talked to, am I interrupting?
No, but we also openly talk to God about that, and you know, she patiently waits for his answer.
Well, I think it also comes down to what we talked about in the other videos, the isolation. Isolation when you deal with a special needs child that can be dangerous to everyone else around them. And so Ray has been isolated. So that doesn't make it any easier to deal with any life situations that would arise outside of taking care of a special needs person. Everyday life, just trying to go to work, anything he has had challenges with. But so Jamin is supposed to start school next week, where that's going to have to be delayed for a period of time. We don't know if they can regulate his meds and at least get him safe. We don't know any of that, but we're at the point now where this is very heartbreaking, because I don't want to leave my husband alone to deal with it, but I also can't, and I don't say this lightly, you know, risk my life as well. Like, both of our lives are at risk. And you know, it's just very sad, because you know, I don't want to feel like I'm abandoning Ray to do this on his own. But boy, this happened so quick. These last two incidences, even with us knowing how Jamin can be, it happened so quickly, and I could have gotten very seriously hurt very quickly. Ray actually did get hurt more after the fact. You know, he had to hold Jamin down, and he's already got a messed up back and hip, and you know, he couldn't even hardly move his neck this morning, and so there were some after effects, minor, but they're still lingering, and he's going to need a little bit of treatment for that. I'm sure these pain pills aren't hurting.
They're covering up a lot of that. I've had that shoulder operated on twice. So.
And so there's damage that he's doing, but it's waiting, just letting this continue and waiting for something detrimental to happen is you know.
Yeah, and this, you know,
we can't wait for someone to get hurt again. We can't wait for someone to get killed.
I'm looking at this young man, and this is my son, and this isn't, you know, he's carried that explosive anger with him, but this isn't his personality. Kim even noticed that.
Oh,
and so
he's a different person.
We've seen the devastating effects of
the
the careless use of pharmaceuticals on people that have limited vocabulary or IQ. They can't express their thoughts and the effect. So I'm trying to do my best. And boy, you know, you can quickly become codependent, trying to put your head in the side of somebody that you love that doesn't think properly, you know, so that you can figure it out. It's, you know, just through their behavior and such. And it's, you know, that's not something that should even be done. So, but you still, as a parent, that's still what you do. You know, you'll do anything to try to work that out to rescue your child. If he was, you know, if he was an alcoholic, if he was strung out on heroin, you know,
But
if he came to help for, if he came and was asking for help and in humility, yes, of course, I would do everything I could to help him.
Tough
But
love doesn't work
Yeah.
in this situation
Yeah,
because Jamin cannot take care of himself.
yeah,
He can't speak for himself. He can't really do anything
Mhm.
for himself.
yeah,
And so that's why he's vulnerable. And this is why
and the people that I've put him in the care of have repeatedly neglected him, given him back to me because they can't handle him, instead of trying to do what I'm doing now and find the most appropriate place, you know,
and treatments and medicines.
treatments and medicine, and instead of just, I've called it throwing darts at the dartboard in a dark room.
Yeah,
and
what's
that,
happening.
yeah, you would think with the genetic, what is that? The gene site,
the gene site testing.
that kind of narrows down the parameters of what a person's brain body chemistry is lacking, and what actually is harmful to them. So I'm not sure if these people utilize that. Apparently,
Yeah.
But he's not now, I don't think, on any of those medications. Before I left a Coldwater Hospital, leaving the dandruff shampoo
Yeah.
and other toiletries for Jamin, we were told, but yeah, before I checked out of there, that he was already on two different medications, and that they were working closely with his personal pharmacy, who hadn't been in contact with anyone for 40 days. For 40 days. And so they made all these med changes without, you know, any knowledge of the pharmacy that has actually probably handled his complex meds for 6 years
Well,
now.
and I said the pharmacy has more information than anybody at this point that we are aware of, because Community Mental Health doesn't have it. They should.
Right.
And when Jamin went into the care of the other group home, again, we can't get any medical records. And Ray will never let that happen again. He will always be on top of making sure he knows.
I have all his
where the
medical
medical
records when
records-
he's under my care, so
Well,
that's all I can say.
But
I'll
at
make
the
sure
same
that
time,
I have them
where did
moving
the
forward.
trail, where did that fall apart? And I told
Right.
Ray, what happened? You can't even track from when he left. He didn't
Yeah.
start on all these meds.
No.
This whole pile of medicine. I'm sure somebody somewhere took him and had him started on one, and then another doctor on another, and they didn't just start out with a whole host of these meds. He started out with 1, 2, and then 3, and
Well, and
and
so I have to take responsibility for that part of it, for not at least providing the oversight. And I do see that in hindsight now.
But when you're
that-
hearing that he's thriving and doing good, and then all
Yeah,
of a sudden,
yeah,
then
exactly,
they
yeah.
drop him off at the jail and say
You know, yes.
he's not doing well. He really wasn't doing
Yeah.
well. He actually was having episodes, and
Yeah.
you're like, well, why didn't you
Thank
tell
you
us?
for reminding me of
Why didn't you
Yeah.
tell us?
Yeah.
Why wasn't this dealt with? You know, and trying to get answers.
that. Right.
It's talking to brick walls, and you're never going to get the answers, no
Yeah.
matter what. No lawyer wants to touch it. Nobody. So that's kind of the advice we're asking for. And also, you know, we're still up in the air trying to figure out, gosh, if the house at the bait shop, it was for sale. The whole property was for sale, and there was a contract, and we were supposed to close here in like a week. We were supposed to close, but her house didn't sell,
Yeah.
and
So the deal fell through.
the deal fell through, and our contract is up with the real estate agent. He's taking another job somewhere else. Nobody at that agency wants to take this on. So, and with everything going on, it was just decided it would be better to try and, if we did sell it, under a land contract, and because then that would be a little bit better. But at this point, if someone were to live over there, and if we'd have to split up, then if that's Ray and Jamin, then here we go. You know,
Yes.
he's done property damage at the places that he's lived.
Yes.
And so if the behavior continues, then there's going to be spitting and property damage, and that's not going to be harder for us to sell. And we need to use that. We need to use that as a source of income, whether we sell it and get the money outright, or if we use it for a land contract to get a small down payment and get monthly payments. We need that source of an income. So if it's Ray and Jamin over there, yes, Jamin's Social Security should pay the rent on that, but that still doesn't frame. That still keeps my husband, and I use these words, and I hated to say it, and he understood it, but he's shackled. He during every, all of Jamin's waking hours.
Yeah, it's
that's
nothing
it.
to do
There's
with.
nothing he can.
It's nothing to do with Jamin, but it is.
He can do nothing else.
It's a life sentence.
He can't go to his own doctor's appointments. He can't do anything.
Unless you just walk away from it, it's a life sentence.
But he will.
And
he will die.
Yeah.
He will die.
Yeah.
Even when APS tried to take Ray's guardianship, and I know these conversations happened, there was no place for him. No. Community mental health couldn't find any place
trying to take him, and they didn't have any place to put him.
They're calling and say, "Hey, do you know a family member that could take him?" And Ray's like, "Y'all lost your mind." So, so we're at a loss. We were trying to think. Ray was like, does anyone even have a camper that either I could just go and take my little world?
We're not doing that.
If it's a night,
I think it would get more eyes on the situation.
I'd be a happy camper, But
I think it would get more eyes on the on adult protective services and other places like that if two disabled people were forced to stay in a camper.
Yeah, or something
especially
like that.
with bad weather approaching quickly.
Right.
So you know what? We're two men, and I've camped before.
I could take it and go to Florida.
and honestly, I just I am fed up with dealing with people who are working for government, and they're wearing professional badges, and they're not doing a professional job. How are all these different people neglecting? If they're neglecting my son, it's not just my son. And I'm not asking for preferential treatment. I'm asking for minimal acceptable treatment for everyone.
So
that's the and it's not. It is not.
You're right. I've seen sides of myself that I've never really seen before, and I think it must have been Tuesday or Wednesday. It was Wednesday. I called Community Mental Health, and I'm not sure if it was Wednesday, Thursday. I don't even remember. The last 3 days have been a blur. Actually, this last week have been just a whirlwind. But I called, and I talked to the CEO, his voicemail of Community Mental Health, and I actually screamed. I didn't start out that way, but I escalated to the point that I was screaming and saying,
this is not my wife.
My home. Community Mental Health needs to get their head out of their ass. And I actually said that to a CEO. And I had to call and apologize to Brian Scott a little bit later. I'm like, I hope you understand the context of that. It would have been Thursday because I had just been assaulted in my own home. And which now the reality of us having to separate and divide resources, and, I would have to work even, the money that I would be making, or we would be making, would then funnel into all of this support rather than our lives. So even more of the retirement, well, that's already gone. Well, unless the bait shop sells, but even then, that part of it is it's just all different now. And so I believe, or I know that recording was picked up, and I will gladly play that. I sounded like a crazy woman. But I had been pushed to my limit at that point because the police had left, and they left him here, and I was just livid because the state police at that point, they thought that they could transport him over to Coldwater for us that day, which needed to happen. But instead, it took a whole nother incident and a whole nother round of episodes and assaults and me getting hurt and him getting hurt before they did it. And again, by the time they came in, I think Jamin had already calmed down. So
yeah,
so I was like, a handicapped disabled person is doing your job. I've been doing your job. I was mad. I was just livid. I was livid.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I guess, Jamin came back here. Actually on my accord, I guess. I really leaned towards that in the last few days because he starts school on Monday.
But he would
And,
also have been
they-
safe. There had
Yes,
been no incidences
they had been
that
reporting that he was safe at this other facility, and that was because
Andy had an interview.
and he had an intake interview.
Mhm.
So we're thinking here that he, because of the reports, was safe.
Well,
So-
you were getting a lot of pressure, and you were getting a lot of pressure, and
From the agency, they were calling repeatedly, and
mismanaging his medical, and again, I also felt like Jamie needed to get out of there. Did he
Yeah.
need to come back here? Probably not.
we
but
brought him home 2 days after I found out they hadn't given him his allopurinol
For
for
40
days, and he had kidney and liver or spleen damage.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't feel guilty at least getting him out of that situation and into this situation. And it was serendipitous because I saw what happened, and if he would have went to a group home, they wouldn't have known that was different behavior.
right.
So for him to just come back there for that short time and kind of, it could have been only one day,
Mhm.
and just kind of lily pad back to Coldwater Hospital, but didn't quite happen like that. There were 2 lily pads.
Yeah.
Of-
And we know we've
but-
kind of been jumping around
Yeah.
and literally just sort of talking and maybe venting a little bit as well. But, you have to remember, we haven't been around adults either.
Yeah.
Again, the isolation
No
has happened.
social life for years.
both of us.
The bait shop was what, I got, that was, people know me from there, and that's it.
Mhm. Yeah.
We're losing our life.
In the
honey.
meantime, the anemia is just kicking my butt. And so,
Yeah.
neither one of us have actually been really well. So, okay, I think, are we
Yeah,
good? I
we're
think
good.
we're good. And then we'll keep updating everybody.
All right.
Any suggestions or ideas, please just let us know, or any
Yeah.
help. Because
All
if
right.
one of us has to move, we need help. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Bye.